Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I shall be teaching you how to draft basic bodies with princess darts. We place our vertical measurements starting with the shoulder line. The next line is going to be our bust line. The bust line is 10 inches from the shoulder line. The next line after the bust line is the next line after the bust line is your waistline. The waistline is 17 inches. Is 17 inches from the shoulder line. The distance all depend on the figure you're measuring or the model. So it's 17 inches from the shoulder line. That's the waistline. Then the next thing we are going to be doing is and then the next thing is to get your hip line. Our hip line is 25 inches from the shoulder line. So then our hem, we're going to be using hem of 28 inches. So that will be our hem of this particular dress. So we've done all of the vertical measurements. You already know the essence of the vertical measurement. You have to get your vertical measurement right. Then, so that it's on this vertical measurement, you'll be placing your horizontal measurement. After that, the next thing you'll be putting is your chest line. Your chest line is calculated as your bust divided by 4 minus 1. Our chest was 36 divided by 4 is 9 minus 1 is 8, so we are taking it 8 inches from the shoulder line. On this chest line is where you shall be inputting your bust measurements. That's the essence of the chest measurements, chest line. So then while on the bust line is where your bust pan is going to be. That's where your bust point is going to be. So this line we're going to rule. Since my edge of my paper is not sharp, I'm going to rule a center front line at the edge. That line is called the center front line. So from that center front line, we shall be taking all of our measurements. We basically, the horizontal measurement we are starting with is with our shoulder line, our shoulder measurement. Our shoulder measurement was 18 divided by 16 divided your shoulder measurement was 16 divided by 2, it become 8. Then we'll put 8 on that on the shoulder line. Then also mark the same 8 inches on the chest line and connect a vertical line. So the next thing we'll be doing is get the shoulder slope. We are using the shoulder slope of 1.5 inches. So then for we to connect the shoulder slope, we get the neck width. Our neck width is 3 inches. So we mark it from that neck width to this mark to the 1.5 inches shoulder slope. So these are our shoulder slope line. Next is that we are going to be putting our neck depth. Our neck depth we're using neck depth of 3.5 inches. So we're drawing a horizontal line so that we can get a very nice shape, a very U shape. So this is how we're going to be drawing it. We're doing it this way. As you're seeing it, I'm just putting these intersecting line so that you can see how easy it is. You will find the midpoint of both line that is being drawn. From the midpoint, then you curve it. It will be straight up to that midpoint. Then from that midpoint, that's where it will now curve, as shown in the diagram. So it will curve like this. So this is your front neck. So it's as simple as this. For those of you that does not have a curve rule, you can use this method. Even if you have curve rule, sometimes your curve rule might not be responding the way you want it to be. So we've gotten that. Now we put your bust measurement. Our bust was at 36. We impute our bust measurement. Now it's a 36 divided by 4. It become 30. It become 9. So we put that 9 and we add 1 inch is allowance. So then we go to the shoulder, this shoulder slope line. Look for the midpoint of it and go in by 3/4 inch. So from there, you use your ruler to connect. This is how you get your armhole. You connect using your ruler. So when you use your ruler, you connect using your ruler. Then subsequently you can connect the other part of it using your curve rule. As well, you can also use freehand. It all depends on the one that is easier for you, or depend on what is available to you. So this is how it's going to be. So you see now that the armhole is in shape already. So this is your armhole. you can measure the armhole. If we measure the armhole, I think the armhole should be about 8 inches or 8.5 inches. So we're done with that. The next thing we shall be doing is to impute our waist measurement. Our waist was 30. Divide by 4, you got 7.5. Then we add we add we add is 0.5, and we add duct intake of 1.5 inches. Then we get that marking there. We mark it, then connect. We can, if we like, we connect it to the bust line, the chest line, the last point on the chest line. So you see your dress is gradually coming into shape. But this is going to be a long shirt that it has. We are still going to go up to the hip. So you take your hip measurements. We are taking our hip measurement. Our hip measurement is 40. So divide by 4. We got um, we got 10 plus 0.5 inch, so we get 10.5. So that's what we're going to mark 10.5 there. And so at the hem as well, we're still going to impute that hip measurement at the hem. That's what we're going to do. We are having 10.5 there. We're going to impute that same 10.5 at the hem. Then we connect it upward, up, so that you get you connect that 10.5 to the hip line as well. So after you've gotten this, what you now do is that you'll be having your dart placement. Your bust pan was 8 inches. So for it, you are going to divide that inches by 2. That will give you 4. So you are going to be marking 4 inches from the center front line. You are going to, from the center front line inward, you mark that 4 inches. You also do the same thing, mark that 4 inches. Same thing you did, you mark that 4 inches on the waistline. Then you can also mark it on the hip line. Then you draw a vertical line connecting these three together. When you draw the vertical line connecting these three together, this is where your duct intake is going to be. So this is where your duct intake is going to be. The that intake depend on how busted the person is, or how you want it to be. So if the person is very busty, you can use that intake of 1.5 inches from the waistline. You can still use 2 inches. It all depends on your desired result. So in this place, we are going to be using 1.5 inches for that intake. That means we're on each side is going to be 3/4 inch. That is our data intake. So what we now on the waistline. So we now connect it to the bust point. But on the bust point, so that the bust point will not be that sharp, we are going to have a new bust point. We are coming back down by 3/4 inch from the initial bust point. We mark that point. So that we're going to be our new bust point. Then on this place, this is where we are going to fix our dart leg. So we fix it, our dart leg as shown. You fix it upwards as shown. So same thing you're going to do downward. You're going to put that leg downward also. So you see gradually the illustration have start making little sense. Then what you now do is that you still see that you on towards from the hemline, you still cut that same vertical line upwards. Later you are going to roll it up to the from the hemline to the line is going to be from the hemline to the bust line, to the new bust line. So you are making this marking so that when you are cutting it, it will be easier for you to cut. So this is it. This part. So on our other that is going to be on our shoulder. So on this shoulder, what we are going to do is that since our shoulder that intake is going to be 0.5, is going to be 1 inches, we are going to add that 1 inches now. So that when we add that we extend our shoulder by 1 inches. When we've extended it by 1 inches, we find the midpoint of the new shoulder. When we find the midpoint, we mark it and connect it to the bust point. So if we've connected it to the bust point, also what we are going to do is that we are going to have a new bust point at the upper part too. The new bust point is going to be 3/4 inch. 3/4 inch away from the initial bust point. You understand? So that's is going to be away 3/4 is away from the initial bust point. Then the dart intake at the shoulder level is going to be 1/2 inch on both sides of this new line. So it's going to be half inch on both sides. But also remember that as you are adding, you have a new shoulder line at the extension. Because of the extension, there's still going to be a new armhole. That's what you should understand. That the armhole is going to be extended at the chest line by 1 inches, since the dart spacing is 1 inches. So this is it. Then what you're now going to do now is you're going to extend each of these dart leg by 1/2 inch, then connect a new shoulder line as shown in the video. So gradually, the front piece is getting into form. So what is left now is our new armhole. So we are going to create our new armhole. Then we also make adjustments. We'll go to the chest line and increase it by 1 inch. Then create our new armhole using your curve rule or making use of freehand. It all depends on what you're used to. So you adjust it. After you've adjusted, then you also adjust it up to the waist. You also adjust it up to the waistline as it will be shown in the video. So likewise on this other part of the illustration, you shall be making your adjustments so that it will correspond with the new chest. The new chest line will correspond with that of the waist. So you are making this adjustment. So this is you see this is our front piece is already ready. So the next thing we will do is we'll come to, after we must have traced this out. I was using a chalk so that if there's need for me to erase it, to be easier for me. So we'll come to the bust points now. You see from this place now, you see that the bust point is not that is not that sharp. We are going to make it curvy, either using your free hand, or you're going to either make use of your free hand, or you're going to make use of a curve rule. That's your French curve. So this is what we are going to get. So this is our front. We have gotten our front, and that is it for the front. All right, so okay, for the back pattern, we're still going to, all the vertical measurements is still the same thing. We'll do all the whole process we did at the front using that same style. We've gotten that. The major difference between the back and the front, one of the differences is the neck width. The neck width here is, instead of in the front, the neck width is the same thing, but the neck depth is going to be different. Here, the neck depth we're using is 1.5 inches from the shoulder line. So it's just the neck width that is going to be different. We are covering it out. So this is the major difference, but this is one of the difference between the neck width and the neck width of the front and the back pattern. So you can see that as well. What we did was that we left 1 inch space, which is meant for zipper allowance at the center back line. So we are starting it from the edge. If you can see it very well, we are seeing that we left 1 inch space. So you make sure you leave 1 inch space for zipper allowance. So you use you do the same thing on the waist. What you did in the front pattern, you put same measurement on the waist, but this time on the waist now you are going to make it. On the waist now you are going to make it, instead of adding that spacing of 1 inches, you are going 1.5 inches. You are going to add that spacing of 1 inches. So then you have of 1 inches. Then you connect. You are going to connect. For the dart position at the back, what we are going to do is that we'll go to the waistline. When we go to the waistline, we divide it by, we find the midpoint of the waistline. So then that waistline, if we've gotten the midpoint, what we now do is that we are marking it. That's we find the midpoint. Then extend that line from that waistline. Do the same thing. Do the same thing at the bust line, and do the same thing at the hip line. Then connect. Use your ruler to connect. Use your ruler to connect upward. So we've done that. If we've connected the upward, now you go to the waistline. Each side of this new line, you're going to mark 0.5 inches. That's a half an inch from each side of this very line. Then at the shoulder line, we're supposed to have formed a new line, but now we are not we only going to extend it gradually. You see, we are not going to be I'm not this one, I'm just showing you this is what we did initially, but we are not going to be using it because we don't even need this extension. We only need see this is what we did initially, but as we go on in the video, I'm going to show you what we are going to do. So this is it. This is what we did in the front. We are doing the same thing at the back, but we don't really need it because there's no need for you to extend that shoulder. So what we did now is find the midpoint. We find the midpoint of the shoulder. When we find the midpoint of the shoulder, we'll find the midpoint of the shoulder, and we connect it to the bust line. So you see, we find the midpoint and connect it to the bust line. Then after we've connected it to the bust line, so what we are going to do, this is your back pattern. What we now going to do is we are going to go to the waistline, taking put the dark leg. The dark leg is about 0.5 inches. Then we connect it to the bust line using our ruler. Then from in the upper part, then in the lower part as well, you are going to connect it as shown in the video. So you should know, and there's something you also know, that you have to be very careful when doing this. You should be careful because just know that you are only eliminating some parts, but make sure that it does not bulge out, so that you will not have another. It will not bulge out like as if it's a front panel. So you make sure that at the bust line there that you did there, you are going to make it very soft. The curve is going to be very soft. So these are our new armhole.
Insufficient
So
storage
we are
capacity.
going to the new armhole. So what we now
Yes,
did
too.
was that at the shoulder line, see, there's no need for us to put that leg. We just cut it out. Then from there, what we now start doing is take all those patterns and put them in the paper, trace them out. These are our front pattern. Then we also take the back pattern. So remember that when we are taking it out like this, what we are going to do is also remember that we are going to put our spacing. So at the hem, we are adding 1 inch at the hem. Then at the side, we are adding that spacing of 0.5 inch. So that's how we are going to do for both the front and the back. So we are gradually coming to the end of this pattern. You can see is not as difficult as it is, as you might think. But if you have any difficulty, please don't hesitate to tell us. We're always here to help you. If there's any place you think also we are getting wrong, because I believe some of you know better than myself. If there's any place you think that we are getting it wrong, notify us so that we take correction. So this is how it is. You're going to draft both the front and the back pattern. You are going to redraft it, and you are going to redraft it as in by tracing it out. Then add your allowances, or your seam allowances and your hem allowances. So we also do the similar tracing for the back pattern. So we get our stuff, then we label it as both the side panel and a front panel. So this is how we are going to do. Thank you for your time. Thank you, thank you, thank you.